Hello, everyone, and welcome to Healings and Readings with Deepal. I am your host, Deepal Shah, and I want to welcome you all here today. So, we are talking about the 5 pillars of your health journey, and I am so excited to be here with all of you. I know that you may have many questions, right? As the new year approaches, we always have questions. How can I better my health? How can I lose the weight? How could I get rid of this pain and that pain? What am I going to do to better myself? And one of the things that I've always questioned every year, and I've always made these resolutions or goals that I'm going to take charge of my health. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to do all these things. And as I step into it a few months or even a few weeks later, I'm right back where I started. So I want to give you charge of your health and give you ways of doing that. And that's why today I brought on my mentor, my coach, Akash Vaghela, and he's going to be joining us in just a moment. I just want to go ahead and say hello to all of our viewers who are here today. I know you guys are just popping in. Please let us know where you're chiming in from. I know it is the holiday week, and many of you may be out, but you will be watching the replay. So I highly recommend that you really stay till the end of today. We are going to be here for 30 minutes, and it's all Q&A with Akash Vaghela, who is the guru of health transformations. At least I call him that. So I wanted to say hi to Camila. Hello, my dear. And I know we've got Facebook users. Sometimes I don't know who Facebook user is. So give me 1 second and I will see, because then I have to go to Deepal's Quantum Body Awakening. So wherever you are tuning in from, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, I want to say hello and welcome to each and every one of you. And we're going to get started in just a moment. So go ahead and tag somebody that you know would like more information and be educated about how to have better health. Okay, go ahead and tag them, or go ahead and share this video out with wherever you think on your timeline, another Facebook group that will allow you to share such inspiring information that we have for you today that will get you started on your health journey. Okay, welcome back. So what I want to do is, as you guys join in, and tag all those people that you know that could use today's readings and healings. We're not doing a lot of scans or readings and healings today. We are talking to Akash Vaghela because I wanted to bring him on. He is my mentor, and he is such an inspiration to so many of us. And if you don't know him, let me just tell you a little bit about him. You may have seen the stories that I've put up in many of my Facebook groups, or even through my emails, about my whole transformation. And it was not just a weight loss, but it was an entire health transformation. And I wanted to bring this information to you today. So if you're unfamiliar with Akash's work, he's the founder of the world's leading online body transformation company called RNT Fitness. RNT has supported over 3,300 plus high performers across 25 plus countries to transform their bodies and unlock their potential. He is the host of RNT Fitness Radio podcast. I highly recommend you go ahead and listen to some of those podcasts and some of the journeys that a lot of people just like you and I have been on or are on. And Akash works with many of the industry's leading publications like Men's Health Magazine or the national media such as BBC and The Independent. Now, he is the author of one of the best-selling books, and it's called Transform Your Body, Transform Your Life. And if you would like to receive that, you can definitely do so. You can ask him how. And I'm going to bring Akash on right now. Okay, guys? Hello, Akash.
Hey, Deeple. Thanks for having me. Thank you for the very kind introduction.
You are so welcome. It's so wonderful for you to be here. I'm so excited to introduce you to my community because I know so many of the clients that I work with are on a weight loss journey. Everybody complains about their weight. That is like their number one thing, as well as health, right? That's the biggest obstacle in our lives, because if we don't have our health, then we can't do a lot of anything else, you know? And so I do want to dive into some of the questions that we have for you. And guys, if you have questions for Akash, you're more than welcome to put it in the comments, okay? Go ahead and put them there. But as we talk, you're going to find that he's going to answer a lot of things that we have on our minds as we step into 2024. So I just want to say hello to Ruda, hello Linda, hello Darlene, hello Gayatri, and hello Stella. So wonderful to see you guys here. You guys are more than welcome to ask your questions as we go along. This is going to be a 35 minutes, something like that. We're going to see how far we could, stretch Akash's brain today and pick on him. So I really want to dive right in. So tell me, Akash, because you went through a health transformation journey yourself before you even came up with this entire program and this company that you created. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, sure. So I started off, and I guess I stumbled across health and fitness very early in my life, and I'm very fortunate to have done so. I started off as a skinny fat kid with moobs and a pot belly, as I like to say, and very typical of my genetics. And I was always destined for a career path in law and following my father's footsteps. But one day, a friend of mine dragged me along to the gym, and I was only 16, 17 years old, and he said, "Look, I think it's really going to help you feel more confident and get girls." So I thought, great, let me do this. So I went into the gym and I got completely bitten by the bug, and I completely fell in love with everything to do with body composition, with health, fitness, nutrition. And I spent all my spare time in the next couple of years just diving into everything and anything to do with it. And I became my own human experiment. But what I discovered in my first physical transformation at that young age was the focus, control, and confidence that a body transformation and a health transformation give you. And I realized then that the physical transformation can be a vehicle to do so many other things in your life. And I still don't know what exactly inspired me to do so, but it happened almost overnight, where I was in a careers class writing my university application for law, and the same friend said to me, whilst I was supposedly writing it, but I was actually reading a nutrition article, and said, "Why don't you just do something in sport and exercise science or something in fitness?" And this was 2008, 2009, and there wasn't much in the industry yet outside of some of the mainstream things that you probably came across at the time. But I looked into it. There was something called sport and exercise science, and overnight I made a decision to come away from law and into fitness. And coming from a South Asian community, my parents said to me, "How would you pay the bills?" And I said,
Of
"Right away,"
course.
because I felt like this was something that felt very, very much to what I was here to do and what I wanted to do with my life. So I went to university and experimented with my friends and family, and then the snowball effect just happened. And I started helping people in the city, and then 5 years later, I set up RNT Fitness in 2017, where we help people not only get into the best shape of their life, but really build a lifestyle solution to learn how to stay there. And I always say that the physical transformation we help you with is more than just the physical, because we use that physical transformation as a vehicle to improve your mental health, your careers, your relationships, and every facet of your life. And I really do believe that it all starts with that physical pillar, because when you nail that, everything else in life just has a weird way of falling into place, because you have better control of your day, better structure in your day, you're thinking clearer, you look good, so you feel good, and you perform good as a result of it.
Oh, Akash, I think you're. Hold on.
Did you catch it?
Okay, there we go. Yes. So like here's the thing. You mentioned that the physical builds builds the confidence, right? When we are physically, when we look good, we feel good, and so it comes out in our confidence, how we show up in the world. And it
Yes.
is so true, because I thought I was always known as a skinny girl, right? And so I didn't really have a problem with confidence until I started the program. So what I mean by that is my confidence went even higher because not only did I realize that I really didn't have the confidence I thought I had, let's just say, okay? And because I feel like I was still hiding a little bit of my body because I was ashamed of certain parts of my body that were bulging, and especially being a mom, right? Having two kids, having the responsibility of the house, having the stress, like the we build, and for our community, which is a spiritual community, we build protective barriers.
Mm,
Okay? And when we build protection, we build fat, and we build it in places in our body that we feel like we can't ever get rid of. And people try different modalities. They try Ayurveda, they try naturopath, they try a lot of different modalities. But I understand where we need to also include the physical. Now, you
mm.
talk about like the 5 pillars of health, right? Can you just a little bit go over the 5 pillars of a healthy journey so that we can achieve better health over time? Because I think people forget these 5 pillars.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on the point you mentioned around confidence and why confidence comes from body transformation. I think working on your health and fitness and a body transformation is one of the few things in life you can't really buy, you can't really cheat, you can't hack your way through. And for many of us in life, we go through so many different things with that, whether it's our career, relationships, or whatever it may be, and we make promises in these different areas, and yet we never stick to them, or we don't fulfill what we thought we wanted to do. And what this slowly does over time is it chips away your self-esteem and it chips away your self-confidence. So when you can finally go through a body transformation and you see it all the way through, for many people, and especially with people we worked with, it may be the first time in their life or in a very, very long time, they've actually stuck to what they wanted to do. And they've actually been able to persist through the different hardships in life and say yes say yes to themselves and say no to other things which usually would have caused potential issues. So for example, a lot of people end up saying yes to bad relationships. So they what do they do in that scenario? They stress eat, or they comfort eat, or they find other vices which then cause weight gain and feelings of whatever it may be. And I think if you can put yourself through this body transformation, you can clear through a lot of muck, or at least create awareness around a lot of muck, because you have to say no to these things. You realize, oh, I'm feeling a little bit hungry, I'm a little bit low on energy, I can't really be bothered to deal with that person anymore, I don't want to deal with that stress anymore. And you make these mental notes of things you want to change in your life because they've not been serving you. They've actually been the reason why you've gained weight, or don't feel, look, or perform your best anymore. So when you go through a body transformation, A, you create awareness of things you need to change in life, but B, you build confidence because you've said yes to yourself multiple times. You've done it when it's difficult, and it may be the first hard thing you've seen all the way through for a very, very long time. And that's why the confidence comes more than just how you look in the mirror, more than just how you feel in clothes. It's that self-belief, that unwavering belief that you've done something that, firstly, very few people can, and secondly, you've had to put yourself through all the challenges that life throws at you, and yet you still go for the walks at night. You still eat the healthy food despite the takeaway Domino's being something probably more tasteful or tempting on the night when you feel stressed. So it's all these things, these small wins that rack up, and that's where it really comes from. So
No,
I thought
you're
it'd just be
right.
worth elaborating on that.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you did, because my husband and I we are both guys going through this transformation, and we've just finished up well, my husband started in December or November, December last year, and I started in May. And I can see how we started to believe more in what is possible, because so many times we do tell ourselves, I can't, or I failed again, because we both have tried to transform our health so many different avenues that we have taken, and nothing has ever worked. And what Akash has brought through has really worked, and it's a huge part of it has to do with accountability in the end, because we have been accountable to how we go about playing our day. Did we do the steps, that the 5 pillars that he's going to be talking about? Like, did we take those steps today? And you start to kind of see and have that mindset shift. And the more I seriously, when I started, I'm like, nothing's changing, nothing's changing, nothing's changing. Right. And a month goes by, 2 months go by, and we're harder on ourselves than anybody's going to be, right? So until we see it, until we feel it, we're not gonna be able to really sit with it, and we're gonna keep going back to old habits, right? And so when we are accountable, and when we have somebody, a coach, and somebody that can really guide us and root us on and be our cheerleader, it makes a huge world of difference. And the confidence does come in because you see yourself changing in the latter part. And it starts to happen quickly after that, right? Because once you start having the momentum going, guess what? Now there's a huge gush of energy that just really floods through and really shows up. And your confidence really rises drastically as soon as you start seeing one thing shift, and then you stick with it, right? Because a lot of us have had failures in the past, and with anything in life. And so when we can see something change like this, especially our own body, we start believing in ourselves. So thank you for bringing that up. Now,
Amazing. Now, the 5 pillars, I know I skipped over that bit. It's very simple. And the good news is it's very simple on paper to achieve improvements in your health, body, and fitness. You need to follow a structured meal plan or nutrition plan. That's if your goal is weight loss, then it needs to be built into a calorie deficit. Achieve a step target. I like to start around 8 to 10,000 steps a day. But if you actually, I'll go through the 5 steps, then I'll suggest like the easy ways to start it. Then the third is to drink 2 to 3 liters of water a day. The fourth is to resistance train 2 to 3 times a week, and the fifth is to sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. Now, if you're watching this and you're new to health and fitness, that might seem a little bit overwhelming. So the way I like to break these 5 things down into 3 simple, actionable items that everyone can take away from today. The first would be increasing your step count by 4,000. So whatever it is now, you can check your average on your phone, or if you don't know your average, all you need to do is add an extra 4,000. Now, 4,000, just for context, is about 30 minutes. So I would recommend either a single 30-minute walk upon rising, so you get some sunlight, you get some movement in first thing, or you can split it up into 3 10-minute walks a day after or before each main meal, so you have some sort of structure. So that's the first thing. Second thing is to sleep in the same 1-hour window every night. Our body loves consistency, and one of the best ways to start feeling better immediately is to simply sleep at the same time each night. Agree on a set hour window and make sure you fall to sleep that night in that time frame, because that will avoid the late night Netflix, the late night snacking, or whatever else that you're up to late at night. If you can just set an hour window to fall asleep in, that will really help. And the third thing is to just eliminate snacking. So try and go through a period where you say to yourself, outside of your 3 main meals or 4 main meal windows, whatever they want to be, whatever you want to make it, I'm not going to eat anything in between. To help this, the drinking water will help. But secondly, also just making sure you have a source of protein in each meal will really help keep satiety high and just avoid that feeling of emptiness after a meal, so you feel full and can last till your next meal. So those are the 3 things I focus on: snacking, 4,000 steps, and the same 1-hour window for your sleep.
So how much protein would you recommend? Because there's so much data out there that this is, protein per pound of weight. Like, what would you recommend per meal? Like, I weigh 100 pounds. So what would you recommend for me?
For you, if you're 100 pounds, anywhere between 80 and 100 grams would be perfect. So
Okay.
I like 0.8 to 1 gram per pound for someone who's resistance training 3 times a week, wants to improve their body composition, wants to build muscle, get toned. That's a really good benchmark to aim for.
So I know many people have tried so many different diets and it works for a little while, right? And one of the diets I've seen a lot lately is intermittent fasting. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I actually did a version of well, maybe I should define it first. So intermittent fasting is the concept of restricting your time windows around when you eat. So the most popular is you fast for 16 hours where you just drink water. Although there's so many different variations of it that some people say
Yeah,
you can have this, some
true.
people say, but let's just assume that it's 16 hours of fasting, and then 8 hours is when you have your meals. But you'll probably be able to fit in three meals in that. I actually did a version of intermittent fasting for about 3 years, between 2018 and 2021, for productivity reasons. So the headline when it comes to intermittent fasting is there's nothing magical about it. The main thing is you stay in a calorie deficit no matter what dietary approach you use. But if you can find something that helps you stay in it easier, then there are advantages to it. So some people like intermittent fasting because it helps them control their caloric intake in the day.
Exactly.
It helps them from a productivity perspective, potentially. So I used it for 3 years, where I would wake up, I would have black coffee, 1 or 2 black coffees in the morning, and I wouldn't eat anything until 11, 12 in the day. But back then I was single, I had no other responsibilities. All I did was wake up and work. So it worked great. But as I got married, I realized that having breakfast together in the morning was actually really nice. So we added in breakfast again, broke my intermittent fasting for 3 years, and I haven't looked back. So for the last 2 years now, I've just gone back to normal 8, 12, 4, 8, 8, 12, 4, 7 as my meal times. But nothing's changed with my body composition. I've gotten in great shape with intermittent fasting, and I've got in great shape without it. The key thing is if it helps you, then it's worth doing. What I would say is if you're doing this approach and you're clock watching, I would definitely not do it. If you're clock watching, if you've got any issues with food, if you have any poor any sort of eating disorders or any issues with food, I think that feeling of restriction, timing could cause potentially more issues. And the third thing is if you're highly strung or highly stressed, I also wouldn't recommend it because you're probably going to feel even more cranky, and it may not be the best solution for you. So those are scenarios I wouldn't recommend it in. But if you have a very busy morning and you may prefer delaying your breakfast a bit, I think it can help.
Would there be like I know you wouldn't recommend it for certain things, but what about certain age? Like people go on these diets. Like I have seen people go on like 3, 4, 5 diets at a time, just shifting one diet after another. Again, maybe because one didn't work or whatever. And if intermittent fasting doesn't work, I'll go on to keto. If that doesn't work, I'll move on to this. But what does that do to our body? Like, couldn't that impact it in a negative way if we constantly keep dieting?
I think the biggest mistake you can make is constantly dieting, and the reason why someone feels like they're constantly dieting is because they might try it out like intermittent fasting or whatever it is. They do it for a couple of weeks, they lose a couple of pounds, and then in that interim period, they gain some weight back. They fall off
Yes.
the diet. If no one's ever doing an intermittent fasting 4 weeks, then the next day exactly they start a new one and doing it so methodically. That's not
Yeah.
happening. It's one diet, rebound, another diet,
Yes.
rebound. That's what's happening. And there's some physiological and psychological issues there. The psychological issue is quite clear. You're yo-yo dieting,
Yeah.
right? You're restricting, then binging, restricting, binging. You do that over a long enough period of time, you're going to have some sort of eating issues. And also just a constant diet fatigue. You're always going to feel like you're dieting, even though you're not. And that's the sad bit. You feel like you're dieting, but you're actually on a physiological level, you're not dieting.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be losing weight, right?
Yeah.
You'd actually be successful, but it's not happening. And then physiologically, if you lose weight and then you gain it back too quick, you can actually end up with more fat cells. So unfortunately, the problem with losing weight is your fat cells only ever shrink in size, but you don't decrease in number. So if you see a diagram of like loads of different little balls, all they'll do is they'll get smaller. They'll never actually disappear. But what fat cells like to do is they like to multiply. And they multiply when they fill up too quickly. And then what they do, they expand in number. So if you gain weight back too quickly, what they like to do, and I'm speaking in very simple terms here, so scientifically there are going to be some nuances, but what they like to do, they expand, and if they expand too quickly, they'll just double in size. And I've experienced that in the past. About 10 years ago, I won a bodybuilding show. So I used to compete in high level bodybuilding. And after my bodybuilding show, I gained 7 kilos in 7 days and then 13 kilos in 6 days because I had no plan on what to do after a diet. You did a photo shoot recently. It'd be the
Right.
equivalent of you going doing a photo shoot and then two
And
weeks
then,
later, worse position than you were in April.
yeah.
And I realized since then, my body's never really felt the same because I just suddenly had more fat cells in places, and that makes it harder and harder to diet. So the reason why yo-yo dieting becomes a perpetual cycle and it gets harder and harder as you go is when you gain these more fat cells, the process is harder because your hunger hormones are fighting against you. You don't feel as full, and this cycle is what people spend decades in. And I
Yeah.
think
That's what my
you've been
husband and
through
I
it, right?
did.
Yeah,
That's exactly what we
and
did.
it can feel exhausting. You're telling your friends, I'm on a diet, I'm on a diet.
Yeah.
And you've been on a diet for 20 years. The reality, you haven't actually been on a diet, but you think you have. And that can be really exhausting for people. And it can make people think, screw it, there's no point in doing this anymore.
You know what's interesting is that every social gathering we go to, like the biggest topic is food and dieting.
Yeah.
Like, it is crazy how much, and I just realized that, like, there's no other topic people talk about. Like, that is, like, the biggest, like, it's like they wanna do something, but they don't. It's funny, I got a story for you. My husband just went to a meeting, and one of the, guys who was sitting next to him, he's like, "Hey, man, I saw are you doing the same diet that Deeple is?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we've been on the same program." He's like, "Well, you look great." So my husband's ordering something off the menu. He's getting ready to order, and this guy, he goes, "Well, tell me what I should order," after he just had 3 bourbons.
Well, that's the problem, right?
So he's like, "Okay, tell me what I should order." So he orders exactly what my husband orders. And then he goes, "Well, what are you going to drink?" Right. And my husband orders a Coke Zero. He's like, "Oh," after, of course, his multiple drinks, he's like, "Oh, could I get a Coke Zero too?"
Yeah.
And it's crazy how we try to make ourselves feel better after doing whatever we're doing, whatever our habits are. And it's hard for people to break habits. What would you recommend? Like, one thing that people could take away today to help them break that one old habit from going back to the same foods? Like, is there anything specific that they could do today?
I'd say the first thing is come up with a meal plan you can follow for about 2 weeks. And as weird as this might sound, try and eat the same thing every day for 2 weeks. Because I think what it'll do is it will eliminate a decision fatigue out of your day. I think a lot of us spend a lot of time thinking about food, what food we want, especially when we're dieting. And the
Yeah.
reality is, most people are eating the same foods anyway. They just don't realize it. I think there's quite a few studies that have been done. Like if you look at how many different types of foods people eat, it's not actually that much. It's maybe like 10 to 15, maybe 20. But it's the same foods that you just
You're right.
rotate. You
You're
have
absolutely right.
pasta on Wednesday, you have pizza on Thursday, whatever it is. But when you have a diet and you're told to eat the same food every day, it's like, oh no, that's boring. It's restrictive.
Yes.
And I think one of the best things, if you're busy, you're juggling a career, kids, generally life stresses, one of the best things you can do to make dieting really easy and to avoid bad habits is just eat the same thing every day for 2 weeks or so. Because what it'll help to do is it'll replace any bad habits around snacking or poor food choices with consistent, healthy, nutritious food in your day. And if you're eating high volume, nutrient dense foods, you'll also feel very full. So it makes dieting very, very easy and you'll start losing weight. After that, you can, of course, introduce more flexibility with the right education, etc. But if you can do that and tie in with some accountability, so we're in a couple of Facebook groups right now. If people can buddy up or if they know each other within your community and they want to share on this journey together, a simple agreement between one another around, okay, guys, I'm going to post a screenshot of my diet or my food each day. And just create that accountability loop, because you mentioned something around accountability, and it's so critical to allow people to stay on track when it comes to breaking bad habits, because we're our own worst enemies. We'll always justify things. We'll always make excuses for ourselves. But if you have someone objectively that you have to send things to, it could be a friend, it could be a peer, it could be a coach or whatever it is, it would just raise the stakes. So that's something people can do right now. Find a friend, find a buddy, because there's likely someone you know who wants to lose weight with you or get healthier with you in 2024. So find that person, agree on what you're going to agree on, which could be those 3 habits that I mentioned earlier around snacking, steps, and sleep. Or it could just be, right, for 2 weeks, going to follow this meal plan. I'm going to send you pictures every day.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, guys. So tell us in the comments what you guys think. If you have any questions for Akash, and I do want to guide people to come to our webinar that we are having, and it is called Bring Sexy Back After 40. And Akash and I will be, I'm co-hosting with him. So we're going to be talking a lot about the fears, beliefs, and things about more about what goes behind the scenes of losing weight and feeling great and bringing your health back. And one of the things I did ask, and I'm going to put the link here as well, guys, and you could go straight to the link, sign up, check out the page. It is scorecard.rntfitness.com/Deeple. And I'm going to put it here as well. It's also in the comments, so you could click on the link and sign up. It's completely free. We're going to be spending an hour just talking about different testimonials of people. You know, one of the things that really got me involved in this program were the testimonials, because I really resonated with a lot of the women that were going through their own health transformation, where they were and where they ended up at. And I was truly amazed that they were able to transform within months to a year. And of course, some people have to spend more time. Like my brother, he spent a year and 4 months losing 80 pounds. So it just depends on how much, you have to lose and then rebuild muscle. And Akash and I were just talking about muscle and the importance of building muscle. Can you share a little bit about that? Because as we age, muscle breakdown does happen. And I saw during COVID, and I know many of you, as active as I was before COVID, during COVID, I was like, forget it. And I was binging on food, eating, watching Netflix, doing everything except being active. And I had muscle before, and then I just became really flabby. Like literally, you could see my arms, under my arms, the skin was sagging. And I didn't want to realize it. I did until my husband said something, but I didn't care. And I did care though subconsciously because it stuck with me. But you know what? Akash has a great point in why this is so important.
When it comes to muscle mass, the reason why it's more important every year and every decade after your 30s, like your physique, your muscle mass, if you train, will tend to peak around your late 20s, maybe 30, 31. But after that, it's on a slow, natural decline. And this doesn't mean you're going to see yourself waste away, but especially after 40, and especially it accelerates after 50, 60, 70, 80, there's a phenomenon called sarcopenia, which is basically age-related muscle loss, and it happens to all of us. We can't stop it completely, but we can decelerate it massively by resistance training. And resistance training, which is basically using any weights or bands or whatever you want to do to flex against, is so important as we age, because it will help you with osteoporosis. It will help you with muscle retention. In the elderly, it'll help with falls and how they recover from falls. It will help with simple things like opening cans, picking up your kids, playing with your grandkids, or whatever it may be. Mobility. And our injury risk accelerates as we grow older. So if we can protect our muscle mass and our bones as well, and our bone health, especially for women bone health is even more important, then doing 2 to 3 times, I think 3 times is a nice amount, 3 times a week of progressive strength training is really important. Now, this doesn't mean, again, this is busting some myths, mainly I think perpetuated with women, is you don't need to use pink 2-kilo dumbbells and never go any heavier. There's a lot to be said for women pushing themselves to get as strong as possible. You're not going to get bulky. There simply isn't the hormonal profile to allow that to happen. If it was that easy to get bulky, you see a lot more guys on the street who are looking like that naturally. Unfortunately, it's not the case. So you don't need to worry about getting bulky. And you hear about women wanting to be toned. Well, if you think about what being toned is, it simply increases in muscle mass and decreases in body fat. So if you implement those three habits I mentioned earlier, that's going to help you decrease your body fat. And if you implement 3 resistance training sessions a week, where you're getting stronger on core exercises, then you're going to improve your muscle mass, and that's what gives you the tone look that many of us covet, and helps you look good in clothes, feel good, and then ultimately perform well in day-to-day life, whether it comes to manual tasks or just simply running around in the park with your kids.
Yeah. So we mentioned this, but can anyone do resistance training? Because I know there's a certain age, like that I've seen go through the R&T program. Of course, your dad, he's how old? 63, you said?
Yeah, 63.
And he's gone through the program and he looks amazing. I've seen pictures. And can you share like the age group that you work with?
Yeah, so our specific focus is on the 35 to 50 bracket, and that's who majority of our members are. But that's not to say that resistance training can't be applicable for any age group. I've tried to get my own my grandma to do it. I've just been the resistance I get is more just the mentality around doing it of, why do I need to do this? And it's breaking that belief more than anything. But if I had it my way, I would have her doing all the same exercises I do, just in a scaled down fashion,
Right.
which is more applicable to her starting point. Because, for example, if you start training when you're 20 and you're now 80, so you've been training for 60 years, you can do everything normally. If you start when you're 70, 80, it's probably a different ballgame because you're dealing with reduced mobility, you're dealing with stiffness, probably dealing with a lot of weakness. So the approach is very different. And this is where, the bands can be used for just light weights, but all the same things apply. It's just when you got to that age group, there's so many, and you haven't done anything on the way, there's so many barriers to entry that we think, oh, there's nothing you can do, but it just needs to start a lot slower rate. And that's why I think if you're watching this and you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and even 60s, start now with your weight training and start now with your resistance training. So it makes your elderly life, which we're all going to come to us at some time, it's going to make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And you're going to enjoy that quality of life a lot better.
And one of the things that, Akash, when you start something, when and not only this program or any health program, one of the things that we should ask ourselves is, why do we want to do it? And I always loved that because Akash makes you go deeper into your why. Like, why do you want to do it? And then when you come up with that why, go into a deeper why, right? And write it down, guys. Write it in your journal right before the new year. Why do I want to do this? What is, of course, what is my goal? And then go deeper into the why? Because you know what? A lot of times what I found out as I was going through my transformation is my why came down to my traumas, as a child. And a lot of times that's what's coming out as we are training, because you're releasing a lot of that because it's all body movement, right? And when you're working with your muscles, you're working with your organs, you're releasing the fat, it all has to do with some of that trauma energy built up, and we're letting it go. So that's why you're building confidence. I think that's another reason we're building confidence, and it's huge. So how is R&T different than any other program that people might be even thinking about joining? Like, what does R&T offer? And I would love to tell the answer, but
well, why don't you say it?
I mean, for me, it was truly an honor. I have a coach that is with me every single day, not in person, but there virtually. I can depend on her anytime I want, any time of the day. She'll always get back to me. She'll look at my forms on how I'm working out. Even if I'm just picking up a 5-pound dumbbell and just going like this, I'm like, am I doing this right? Right. And she'll say, okay, just slow down, or put your hand out a little bit further from your body. So there's so much. And then there is, of course, the 2 live calls that are with your coaches in a group that are offered every week. But for me, everything is set. I don't have to think, like Akash said, about what I'm going to decide to eat. It's all set for me. Here's what you're going to eat, Deeple. Of course, I have some leeway, and of course, I could make changes. I just have to let her know, hey, I want to add potato chips or tortilla chips. And she's like, okay, fine, but you have to remember that if I add this, you're going to be hungry, you know?
Mm.
So, and these coaches are like therapists. They are there to, if you have something going on emotionally that is triggering you to go back to old habits, they're going to make you realize that, and they're going to work with you. And that's the beauty of this program. Like, I've never found anything. Most of the programs out there are like, do it on your own. Here's some videos, give it a try, and here's your meals, go cook them or whatever. But this is your meal plan's done, your exercise is done. There is no thinking involved. It's just for you to go and do it. And that's what I love about it. But is there anything you want to add?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the ethos is transform your body, transform your life with RNT, and it's a step-by-step weight loss program built for men and women who want to get into the best shape of their life, along with the confidence and energy to be at the top of their game personally and professionally. And as you alluded to, there's 4 key pillars. There's taking the thinking out of your health and fitness, because you're all too busy. We're all too busy to be worrying about what food should I eat, what training program should I do. We'll take all the thinking out with our proven methodology that's proven in thousands of people, especially you. We'll get you life-changing results in record time. You'll be able to team up with our world-leading expert coaches along the way, and most of all, give you the accountability to stay consistent even when life gets in the way. So you won't have 6 weeks keto, 4 weeks 4 weeks IF, or whatever it may be. We'll just give you a proven blueprint, no thinking involved. And all you need to do is execute. One lasting message on that is, I think it's really important if you're thinking about 2024 health goals, is to, like I said, figure out why you want to do this, and then think about who you want to be in a year's time. Who do you want to be in every aspect of your life, financially, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all the different aspects of all the different domains. Who do you want to become? And when you combine the why with the who, you then realize the cost of inaction. And a big, powerful question to ask yourself is, what's the cost of not taking action on your health and fitness? And that could be anything, whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be R&T, but whatever your goals are with health and fitness, if you have these and you know why it's important to you and you know who you want to become, what's the cost of inaction? Because that is there, plain and simple, right in front of you. And then if you don't take action, all you're doing is doing yourself an injustice. What happens then is that self-esteem and that self-confidence just gets chipped away. So now there's no better time than to take action on your health and fitness than it is right now. And January is a great time to use as a springboard and a motivation, because it's January and it's the new year. It's a good opportunity, and everyone else around you is probably thinking about health and fitness. So it gives you that time to get involved. There's not going to be many social occasions. You can build some momentum. And momentum, if you can build it in January, is because what's going to see you through this transformation. It's going to give you that consistency that you need. And when we host the masterclass and the webinar in a few weeks' time, there's 3 M's that I'm going to be discussing. One will be the mindset, where we'll dive into this why and the who, and we'll do the exercise live with you. The second is the method, where we're going to go in through the exact steps you need to do to lose your first 5 to 10 pounds. And then we'll talk about momentum, which is how you translate those first 5 to 10 pounds into a lifelong transformation. And that bridging that gap is the key to your long-lasting success. So you become someone who identifies as healthy and fit. And when you identify as healthy and fit, you'll find staying in shape a lot easier year round, and you'll never have to die again.
And I can't wait till that. I am waiting for that. So,
So go
guys,
to www.rncfitness.com/dipple, or you can use the link in front of your screen. Also, you can use you can take out the scorecard and just go
oh,
www.
okay.
That's
It's
also works for you.
rncfitness.com/deeple, right? Okay,
Yeah, that
guys.
also
So
works. Either work.
rncfitness.com/deeple. Just go there, sign up for the webinar, tell your friends, tell your family members. Just come. It's free, it's fun. And I know that we have some specials there. Now, Sunita had a question. Do you have tips about losing weight when there is inflammation of what can't be defined by doctors?
Yeah, my tips with that, and what I've seen is the same as the advice I gave earlier on. So I would make sure that you're in a consistent caloric deficit. Now, if you want to figure out what that looks like, I would multiply your body weight in pounds and times it by 10 to give yourself a nice starting point. If you're on the lighter side, then that could be by times 12 as a starting point, and then see how you adjust to that. And if you're also dealing with a lot of inflammation, then I would also look at the quality of your food you're eating. So just make sure that when you create that calorie deficit, the foods that make up those calories are highly nutrient dense, and that will solve the problem so long as you are consistent with it and create some accountability.
I love it. Thank you. All right, guys. I want to thank you, Akash, for being here. And I know a lot of our viewers are excited about the webinar that's coming up. We are sending out emails. If you are not a part of our newsletter, please do come and take the quiz on your intuitive abilities. It's the 8 ultimate senses quiz. And you could take that at anandaforlife.com or deepalshah.com. You could go either place, but go ahead and sign up for Bringing Sexy Back after 40. And we are doing this on December 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And we can't wait to see you guys there. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Happy holidays once again. And I'll see you all next week. Much love and blessings. Namaste, everybody.